Mother-in-law thinks she deserves to babysit her grandbabies. Let me start this off by saying that I am a very happy 29 years old living with my husband Alex, 31, and 4 kids ages 7, 4, 2, and 1. My husband and I had pretty bad childhoods, but I have great contact with my parents, and when we still lived fairly near them, they would come and help out by cleaning the entire apartment, and overall were amazing. Meanwhile, his family is absolutely insane. His father is in jail, and his mom is just batshit crazy. There's been so much insane drama with her that a few years ago, when we moved back to the UK from a different country, we went completely no contact with her. Alex has a sister and a brother. We don't talk with the brother, but are really close to his sister. She lives in London and is also in C with my mother-in-law. She recently graduated from uni and she loves our kids, so that's great. The last time we heard from mother-in-law was 2 years ago, which was when we moved, and since then everything has been calm. Now, time skipped to just 3 weeks ago. I was recently looking through old photos and realized that Alex and I hadn't gone on a proper date in ages. Once every 2 months, we used to take a weekend trip to the beach, mountains, city, etc. Before we had kids, and even after our first we stuck to the tradition and took baby with us, but after our second, we just didn't have the time anymore. We were busy, plus we live by the beach, so if we want a nice outing we just take a 1-minute stroll there and call it a day. But looking at those photos really just brought back this nostalgia of time spent just the two of us, and after talking with Alex we decided it would be nice to maybe take a weekend trip down to France the following week. I don't work and Alex has a flexible schedule. We had to move a few things around, but overall it wasn't that hard. His sister immediately agreed to come to look after our children, and the kids are excited to see their aunt. I was a bit sad to leave the babies, but knew it would be good for our relationship to have some time just for ourselves. So, we were all ready for our trip. It was Wednesday, and we were set to go Friday evening. Alex was at work, and I was home alone with the children when I heard the doorbell. I go and open the door, and there, standing with a smug grin on her face, is my MIL. I was shocked to say the least because how on earth did she find out our address? She doesn't even live in the same country as us, and yet here she was. Oh, is that the newest baby? She pointed at my son, who I was holding. I've never even met him. She practically pushed herself in and casually sat down in the living room while I tried to figure out what on earth to do. When I asked why she was here, she tried to avoid the topic and instead wanted to see the other kids and bond with them until Alex came home, but I wouldn't let her. It might sound rude of me, but as I said, she's done some incredibly toxic things in the past before and after I gave birth, so this was to protect our family. Finally, she dropped the sweet grandma mask and revealed the true reason she was here, to persuade me into letting her spend the weekend with her grandkids. She somehow found out we were going to France and leaving the kids with my sister-in-law, and she wasn't having that. She began saying sister-in-law was irresponsible and young. She wouldn't manage taking care of 4 young children for 2 whole nights. Meanwhile, mother-in-law explained she was experienced after raising 3 children, so she would have no problem. Plus, she was already here. When I said no, she shifted her personality and became serious, which meant yelling at me and telling me she had the right to see her grandbabies and that she would call the police and demand grandparents' rights. She claimed I was being abusive and neglectful for planning to leave my children alone for a whole weekend, that she'll call social services and more shit like that. I was getting tired and asked her to leave, but she said she won't and literally sat on the couch, refusing to move. When I called Alex to come, he was not pleased and got into a heated argument with his mother, which resulted in her finally leaving. However, this whole thing is nuts because we cannot figure out how she found out our address or our weekend plans. SIL swears she didn't tell any relatives and only her colleagues plus roommates knew. As for mother-in-law, she didn't fully leave. I have no idea where she's staying at the moment, but we see her driving a rental car outside our house constantly, as if she's a surveillance officer. It's so ridiculous but scary at the same time because our older 2 kids are constantly playing outside in the garden without supervision, and while we obviously have a fence and security cameras, it's still a scary thought that she might try to snatch one of them, even though Alex assures me she wouldn't go that far. We ultimately canceled our trip due to fear that she'd try to pull something while we were gone. We're still trying to figure out how she found us, and we're just waiting for her to do something that would let us get a restraining order against her. She's a scary woman for sure. Dad wants to move up here, and I do not want it. Today I had a conversation with him, just talking. I don't like confrontation, and I just want to keep the peace, so when we talked I was basically just, yes. Sounds fun. Sounds bad. Sure. The conversation until he brought up about wanting to help me. This version of wanting to help is quitting his job. He is notorious for staying at a job for 3 to 4 months, then quitting when he doesn't get his way, and move up here to stay with me, my husband, toddler, and newborn to help us. He wants me to quit my job. I love my job. They've let me go remote until I can get daycare for the newborn, and it's not a very demanding job at all, so I can focus on my school. I just graduated my associate summa cum laude, and I'm on track to do the same with my bachelor's and the babies. On paper, that sounds great, but I know my dad. He did this with my firstborn. He moved in with us, asked us what kind of help we wanted. I told him I just needed someone to babysit. I didn't want him paying any bills, and this was agreed upon, but instead decided to get a job overnights and not babysit at all. Refused to clean, refused to help out with anything other than monetary stuff. Shit hit the fan when me and my husband decided to break our lease, and he had to figure out where to go because he couldn't follow us to New York at the time, thankfully. Now he's discussing with the rest of my family how he's going to move up here, start a landscaping business, and help again without even asking me. Just assumes I'm going to agree. And when I brought up I don't have room for him, nor will my landlord agree to him moving in, it'll be fine. If you get kicked out, we'll find something else. Just talk to your husband. I know my husband will not agree to this because of the last time. He's already expressed how much he hates my father and will not stand for him to move in with us. And every time my father visits, my husband is on edge because he thinks my father will decide to just not leave one day. Which is a possibility, unfortunately. I'm at the point I need to go very LC because my father doesn't understand boundaries. I just need to actually do it. Mother owes me thousands of dollars and laughed in my face when I asked her to pay me back. I am not sure how to approach this situation. My 22F mother fell victim to the trading/Forex lifestyle in 2016. She didn't get a job until earlier this year because I moved out and she wasn't able to use my paychecks anymore to pay their bills. From ages 14 to 21, she has pawned countless of my favorite items, Xbox, my KitchenAid mixer, etc. I was only told once I found out. In addition to this, she has taken all of the money that relatives sent to me for birthdays, Christmas, and graduation during those years. She was routinely siphoning my paychecks as well, setting up those quick app loans in my name. I received my first credit card at age 18. She ran it up over the limit and didn't pay it back. I am still unable to apply for any credit card that isn't secured. Throughout all of this, she promised to pay me back. Of course, I believed her. It's my mom. After a while, I stopped keeping track of all of the money she's borrowed, but I know it totals $5,000 plus. We had an arrangement where I told her instead of paying me back, she could buy me a car, which she had been promising since I was 16. Last week, I told her I had been looking at cars, and she seemed enthusiastic, excited to help. Well, I called her yesterday to let her know I found a car and asked how she was going to contribute. She laughed in my face and told her she wasn't paying for anything. I said, okay, well, give me the thousands you owe me. She laughed again and told me she didn't have any. Earlier in the conversation, she told me she had $4,000 put away. I understood that she's finally catching up on all of their debt after trading, gambling, all of these years. But do I not deserve any form of compensation? I kept the secret debt from my dad all of this time, so he thinks I'm a lazy freeloader only child who just wants my parents to pay for everything, not knowing how I sacrificed my teenage years just to keep the house afloat. I am finally raising my credit score and accumulating my own savings now, but I genuinely don't know how to move past this or approach the situation with my family. I was pretty much my mom's therapist during this time, which makes me feel more emotionally guilty for asking for the money back or telling my family the truth. I have no idea what to do. I don't even need the money, but I can't let go of the resentment I feel, especially when I see other parents doing/paying everything they can to support their child. Controlling mother. I'm AF 24. So, I recently got a job offer. I'm a new grad RN. I'm currently living with my parents, but for this job, I have to relocate to a different county. My mom knows all about it, and she's happy for me. Although, she keeps telling me about how after getting the minimum 1-year experience, I would be able to move back and into the county we currently live in. This has been something she continues to tell me, even though I literally haven't even started this new job yet. It's so hard to talk to her about how she makes me feel, and whenever I try to, she makes me feel bad/guilty about it. She's the kind of person where it's either her way or the highway, and she's never wrong. I want to preserve the peace, but I'm also tired of the control.
You let your kids drink coffee creamer? While staying at a hotel that includes free breakfast, I went to refill my coffee only to have a child dash in front of me and take the last 2 French vanilla creamer singles. The blue plastic single-serving pots where you peel off the foil top. I filled my first cup a bit earlier and the bin was full. As I returned to my table, I passed the child who was sitting with her mom and sister. Each girl had a mound of empty pots of creamer littered across the table. They were drinking them. These elementary-age girls each peeled one as I walked by, giggling as they sipped while the mom just sort of smiled. It was a breakfast buffet. There was milk, juice, etc., normal, healthy drink options. Their table was covered with empty containers, must have been 2 dozen, so it had been going on for a while. Why on earth would you let your children drink fake coffee creamer and deplete the supply for everyone else? Big thanks to everyone who watched to the end. I really appreciate the support, and please hit the subscribe button.